Hope everybody's seeing though the value of what it is that we are doing. And believe me, it's far more important than the actual shooting component. But we're going to do it all. What we're going to do right now, we're going to introduce one more position, kneeling, going to kneeling, getting back up from kneeling dynamically in the middle of an engagement. And then we're going to look at remedying malfunctions in the context of a real life dynamic engagement. We're in the middle of a gunfight and we suddenly go empty or have a malfunction. And then we're going to go live from there. All right, so we're going to get a couple hours of the live shooting for the rest of the day. And then tomorrow we're going to carry on with it. So, let's talk about going to kneeling. When do we go to kneeling? You guys all learned on going to kneeling in the world of shooting? Yes? No? Yes?
Yeah.
A little bit? Okay. When do we go to kneeling?
Utilize cover. In order to utilize cover.
So if there's a piece of cover that you have to reduce your profile to fit behind, okay, sure. Any other ideas?
Give you a more stable platform to shoot from.
More stable platform, sure, okay. So if you got maybe a greater distance between yourself and the threat, all right. There's no right or wrong answer to that. If you decide that's time to go to kneeling, then you go to kneeling for whatever reason. There is, however, a correct way to do that, all right? What I have experienced, what I see out there, is a lot of focus on getting to kneeling really fast, but that's kind of where the thinking ends. Can we get engaged or re-engaged while we're kneeling? Absolutely. If we happen to be in a kneeling position and the threat suddenly jumps on us, pops up, starts to engage, it'll be just like standing up. Might be behind us, might be to our side, might be who knows where. It will still be a dynamic fight. The threat's not going to care that we are in a unadvantageous position. We still have to be as optimally efficient as we can. Number one. Excuse me. Number two, the most effective position for fighting is what? It's where? Standing, stable, optimal. If we go down, we have to be able to instantaneously get back up as fast as we possibly can. Okay? So, without the weapon, first of all, we're in our standing platform engaging. We decided we suddenly have to go down to kneeling. The principle is really, really simple. My shooting side, dominant side knee, that's what drops down to the ground. My support side closes in. And there's two places that my support side foot can go. It can either step forward or it can step behind. Which way does it go?
Forward.
Always forward. Okay? So, and from here, all that's going to happen is my shooting leg, knee is going to shoot down to the ground, and my support foot is just going to step in. Okay? And I clocks myself in from here. If I decide that I'm going to kneeling, it's because I've chosen I have to do well with my body. I have to reduce the profile as much as I can. So I am as reduced as I can. We don't drop down to this. There's no point. If we decide to be down kneeling, we're down and kneeling. I got to be stable. My support foot is not far out here and is not tucked all the way in here. It is here. Nice comfortable position. It's going to allow me to explode back up. You can see the positioning of this foot here. I'm actually sitting down on my heel and I'm on my toes. I'm not like this. If I want to get up now, I have to first bring my toes up to be able to spring myself back up. Okay? The way we go down has to facilitate us being able to shoot back up as well. So, we're in from here, we go down. I'm down from here. I have to engage now, I'm engaging. Plus, minus. Threat pops up to my side, I have to re-engage. Pops up to my side, I have to re-engage. Behind me, I re-engage. Time to stand up. So, when I go down into that predicament, I have both my legs, each leg is in a different disposition. My dominant leg is collapsed all the way down, knee on the ground. This leg here is almost in a squat position, which is how I can get up. So to get back up, so when I go down, support leg, close into my dominant leg. When it's time to get up, my support leg springs me up, pushes me out. And my shooting leg just steps up into position. So go down, up, down. When our weapon is in the equation. So I'm engaging, maybe something happens, I decide again I have to go down to continue the engagement. Or maybe I have to now fix a problem with my weapon. I got nowhere to go to because of my environment, so I decide to reduce my profile so I'm a smaller target. So when we are here, weapon doesn't stay here as we go down, weapon always comes in. Every time we transition, the weapon comes into this midway range. So I'm engaging, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay? Any questions? All right, so we have up, minus, plus, left, right, rear, rear, kneeling, standing, and then down. Weapons out, nukes are ready. Oh! Engage, 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 engage. Plus, minus, left, kneeling, standing, kneeling. Make sure you're stable. Right, left, stay, rear, down. All right, good job. Okay, holster up. Okay, just make a circle around me, please. Open up a little bit. Okay, so what we're gonna do right now, we'll take about 10 minutes, and we're gonna go over the principles of reloading and remedying malfunction in the middle of the fight. So let's go. What do I have here? An empty. Okay. So I'm engaging, and I suddenly don't get a reaction from my weapon. What do I do? I check. We always check. We don't go into any type of this immediate action stuff where I immediately strip a mag and reinsert. How long does it take me to check my weapon and identify what the problem is? Less than a second. How long does it take me to drop a mag and reload a new one? Longer or shorter than to check? Longer. Okay? Even if we're talking about fractions of seconds, we are in the middle of a gunfight, rounds are flying at us. Do fractions of seconds count? It is one single fraction of a second that can make all the difference between me being alive, me being dead. We always check. We always will give up the smaller amount of time to eliminate the necessity to have to give a longer period of time to perform an action. You understand what I'm saying? If I check my weapon and my slide here is closed, okay, so I'm engaging, squeeze, I don't get anything, and I check and the slide is closed, what do I have? I jam one, failure to feed, failure to fire. What's the remedy? Is that quicker or slower than ejecting a mag and getting a new one? It's much quicker. Now, I could be having a really bad day, luck is not on my side today, and this mag is a problem. But that is just being in the shitty end of the shit line of work that we're in. We can't control everything. We have to make ourselves as optimal as we can. So, I'm engaging, I don't get a reaction, I check. My weapon is empty. What do I do next? Walk me through it. Just as far as remedying the problem here, not all the other strategical and tactical stuff that we'll reinsert after. So what do I have to do now? I strip the magazine out?
Drop it. Extra mag out.
So from here, so this hand right away goes to a new mag. Put your hands up if yes. Put your hands up if no. Put your hands up if you didn't put your hand up for either one. Okay, I'll tell you something right now. In a combat situation, we hope that we'll make the right decision. We always hope that we'll make the right decision. We don't have guarantees because combat is uncontrolled. It's an uncontrolled environment, and we never know what can happen. So we hope to be able to make the right decision. We might make the wrong decision. No matter what happens, you have to make a goddamn decision. The one thing you cannot do is not make a decision. Because there, you guarantee yourself 100% to lose. You make a decision, maybe you have a 50-50 chance of being right or being wrong. Better than 100% of losing. Understand? Now, put your hands up if you say, strip the mag first. Okay? Put your hands up if you say, reach for the new mag. What?
Should have went well.
Okay. All right. So, I'm going to show you some more of my psychic abilities here. My mind reading skills. I can guarantee you that the majority of you in here, have, if you haven't experienced this, you will have witnessed this at some point in time in your careers dealing with firearms, where you experience or you see somebody reach for a mag as they go to drop the mag out of their weapon to eject it, and they get here, they get to here, and this mag is still not coming out. Put your hands up if you have never experienced or witnessed that. Put your hands up if you have experienced or witnessed that. 100% of you. In every single course. Why am I so psychic? Because these are things that are statistics. Because in every single course that I have taught over, I don't know how many years, going on at least 15 years in this business of teaching this subject matter, every single group, whether it's instructors, recruits, TAC guys, spec ops, anything in between, when I ask, well over 90%, I'm being conservative, 90% will put their hands up. That is how I know. Because myself as a shooter and somebody who's been on the line, I have observed this more than enough times as well. Now, let's forget the range and let's talk about real life combat. So the notion is that the quickest thing to do is to start to jump steps ahead. Why? Because speed. Well, if you run really, really fast, but you get nowhere, you're on a hamster wheel, what have you accomplished? Nothing. If you run really, really fast and you're almost at the finish line, but damn it, I forgot the damn key that I needed, and you got to turn around, run 100 yards back to get it, and then run another 100 yards to the finish line, what have you accomplished? You've gone backwards. We will always give up a shorter period of time to ensure we don't end up having to pay back in the middle of a gunfight a longer process and period of time. We're dealing with semi-automatic pistols, we're dealing with temperatures that occur here, we're dealing with explosions. We got plastic, we got metal. When we fire this gun, what happens to it? Heats up, right? Magazine swells. A lot of times it gets stuck in there. Maybe there's micro debris that gets stuck in there and prevents it from actually ejecting. It happens far too often. So I now go to drop this mag while my support hand, and again remember, rounds are flying at me, my support hand reaches for the new mag, and I come to here and this mag hasn't come out yet. Now this hand is waiting. What am I going to do next? Naturally, what's the remedy for that? What do you have to do? You have to now strip this magazine and reinsert here. Have we now added seconds to the task? How many rounds have come towards us in those extra seconds? You understand here? So, rule is that when I'm in from here, I don't get a reaction. I check and it's empty. This hand is passing by anyways. It takes nothing. You tell me, how long does it take for me to do this? There's no change. I will always strip it out immediately. I've guaranteed myself, even if I have given time, which I think we can all agree that it's less than a nano fraction of a second that it took me to now do this, even if I've traded that in, I've guaranteed 100% that my mag well is clear. And when I produce this new magazine, it's going in the weapon and back in the fight a lot sooner. Do we agree on that? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So I strip, acquire my new mag. Even amongst experienced people that have the hours in, that have thousands and thousands of rounds behind a gun, I still observe a very basic problem that occurs that prevents them and prevents a lot of newer people with firearms in getting back in the fight quickly. And that is that they don't grab the mag the way that we're all taught to grab the mag. What is the correct way to grab your magazine and to produce it from the holster? Is it here? The furthest distance, the further the distance is that I have between my hand and the round of the mag, the first round here, the more chances I'm going to have of either missing or having this happen before I get it in. When we reach our mag, remember the basics. Bottom of the mag, my palm contacts it. That way when I collapse my hand over top, tip of my finger is as high up as possible, preferably pushed against that round. This now ensures, in the dark, we can all do this. If I tell you guys close your eyes and stick your index finger into your hand, you'll be able to do it, okay? Because I know how to index my finger to my hand. This ensures now that my tip of the mag is going into the weapon properly. I'm not wasting time. So produce it properly. 1, 2, as hard as I can. What do I have to do next? I have to drop the slide, right? How do I do that? We have two options, right? We either have by racking the slide or by using the slide catch release, right? Okay, who here racks the slide? Put your hands up, don't be afraid. Don't fight. Right, who here uses the slide release? Very good. That is how we do it. The slide release is designed to release the slide. Racking the slide is not designed to release the slide. Now, here, I will throw this at you again. The majority of you have either experienced this or you have seen it if you've been as big long enough. When you're on the range, you either do this or you have observed it. New mag gets inserted, individual goes to the rack, and the slide doesn't drop. And then they come back and rack again. Who here has never experienced that or seen that? Put your hand up. Who here has experienced that or seen it? Put your hand up, please. You? You put your hand up.
I can't remember.
Can't remember. Okay, that's fine. We'll take out the equation. You, yes? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 7. Well over 98% here. The slide catch release is an automatic action that gives us the result directly. Racking the slide is me enacting a middleman here. It's me putting effort into an action, and I hope that that action will cause a reaction of the desired end result. pull the slide back in the hopes that the slide catch drops. But that doesn't always happen. Activating the slide release guarantees 100% of the time that I'm dropping the slide. 100% of the time. Remember the context. What are we in the middle of here? We're not on the range with the stress of the instructor blowing the whistle and yelling in our ear. We have rounds flying at us. Every microsecond counts. We always use a slide catch release. Now, what is the argument here? Why do people advocate racking the slide?
I had an instructor once said it would grind down.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. Every time you fire a round from your gun, it grinds shit down and it wears your weapon down.
That's all they
Big
preach
fucking
at my
deal.
range, though. Man. Small muscle.
But why? Okay, that's the number one, okay? You tell your instructor that's why your department has a budget for new guns, okay? Number one. The argument is this concept of gross motor skill versus fine motor skill. It's bullshit. Everything with a gun is a fine motor skill. Everything with a gun. And I will tell you right now, what is the scientific backing that I have for my arguments? Us in Israel, it's mandatory military service. 18 years old, everybody goes in. Boys and girls. Not men and women, boys and girls. 18 years old. Everybody in Special Forces gets trained on the handgun, along with all the long gun. You have to have your military background to proceed anywhere else. If you want to serve afterwards in the police, in our Secret Service, in our intelligence service, in government security, anything, everybody has to have their mandatory 3 years of minimum background. I have 18-year-old kids, thousands of them that I have trained on the range, with long guns, with handguns. 18-year-old kids are smaller than any fucking Canadian or American, with smaller hands, a lot less maturity. 18 years old, we all remember how we were at 18, who have zero issues on the range or in combat with a gun with these so-called fine motor skills. Are you going to tell me that a 30, 40-year-old, large, mature North American is going to have issues? I'll put an 18-year-old up against you. No such thing as gross motor skills with a gun, number one. Number two, if you have somebody who's got an issue with performing an action with a gun, you have to either see if you're training them properly, or you got to see if they're the right fit for this line of work. You don't start to bastardize the effective way of doing things because we have to drop the bar to meet everybody else. There's far more chances of a person in the middle of a gunfight doing this and not having that slide drop than there is of a person doing this and not being able to. I can guarantee you that.
What about left-handed shooters?
Become right-handed.
Over. Become right-handed.
Okay. So, left-handed, two options. I can either use all my fingers. I can either just come in from here and drop this way, okay, or come in over top and from here, okay, with my thumb. The most effective is just in from here. You're just coming in and you're just raking along everything from here. Okay. Now, are left-handed shooters anomalies? It's not the norm. It's not the common. They are a minority. 12% of the population are left-handed. Is it possible that you're going to have somebody in this line of work who maybe has hands that are too small for the gun? So do we now get everybody small guns just because that one person's hands are too small? No, we accommodate that person. You don't take the effective, most optimal way of doing things from everybody because one person has to be accommodated. You do whatever can be done to let that person accommodate, and they have to understand that they have maybe extra work to do to make themselves effective given their predicament. And you let them hone that, but you don't take the optimal way of doing things from everybody else. Anybody disagree with that? Okay, just asking an honest question. So, we use the slide release. Slide release guarantees 100% of the time that I'm dropping that slide and back in the fight a lot quicker. Now, on that topic, for those of you who use a slide release. So I reinserted my mag, and This thumb comes up now to drop the slide release. Yes, no? Yeah? You're not sure? What do you do?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And? Yeah, okay. Everybody watch. Little magic trick. I have a question for you guys. You have to answer, so watch very, very carefully. Watch. Are you watching? 1, 2. Am I chambered? Put your hands up if you say yes. Put your hands up if you say no. Okay. I'm the one that performed this action. I won't put my hands up because I have no fucking clue. How am I going to find out? By now pointing the weapon, pulling the trigger, and hoping that I am. Under stress, we either come together really, really well, individually I'm talking about, because the training is realistic, or we completely fall apart. Your mind is not going to wait for your body. Your right hand's not going to wait for your left hand. When you are under real stress of life or death, you're going to overcompensate, over-exaggerate. You're going to move everything as fast as it has to. And this is one of the very common malfunctions that shooters cause themselves, is that right there. Dropping the slide too soon. And so they're not chambered. So, again, I will give up a fraction of a second to make sure I'm not trading an extra couple seconds in the middle of a gunfight. So as I reinsert my magazine, support hand thumb drops the slide. Guarantees 100% of the time that I'm chambered, locked, and ready to go. Any questions on that? Okay, so once more with the reload. So I'm in from here, I'm engaging. Engaging, I suddenly don't get a reaction. What do I do? Check, I have an empty. What do I do? Strip. As I reach for my new magazine, how do I grab my mag?
Palm.
Palm, okay? Bottom of the mag sits deep into the palm to make sure I have as much finger at the top as possible. Mag comes out, see where the weapon comes down? Just underneath my line of sight. Okay, I can still see it in my periphery. If I have to transition visually, it doesn't take long for me to transition back and forth. Finger in my hand, one, nice and hard, and support hand thumb. Drops, and repoint and engage. Okay? Any questions? All right. For a second, let's talk about strategy. We're reloading because we're empty. We're in the middle of a gunfight. In the middle of a gunfight. So, first, let me ask this. Your weapon is out, you're shooting. The threat stops. Okay? He's turned to run, he's gotten behind cover. He looked at you, quickly got behind cover. He fell down. You just happened to go empty in that moment in time. What do you do? I'm not talking about the reloading process we just talked about. Strategy-wise now, what do you do? Huh? Where? How? Where are you moving to?
To a different spot while you're reloading.
Where's that spot?
Close the gap.
You sure?
Probably not while you're reloading. I'm guessing offline where you.
Well, you are
come-
right.
If it comes back up.
You are right. You're 100% right. Am I going to win a fight because I shoot a guy? No, the shooting is the tool that maybe I'm lucky enough to be able to implement. What happens if I go to reload and something is not working? Realize, shit, it's my last mag. Something is jammed, and he suddenly pops up now. What have I done? We still have distance, but who has the right tool for this distance now? Him, not me. We're in a fight. If I have the opportunity to close the distance, I always close the distance. So I'm engaging. He suddenly drops. He goes behind cover. I have an enemy at the same time. I reload as I run. If I get to him, I get to his proximity, and I finish to reload, wonderful, I finish him off. If I get to his proximity, or even in the middle of running, I realize I don't have a full mag. I don't have any more mags. Or there's a problem with my weapon. I can't remedy the reload. What have I done now? I'm running even quicker. I've closed the gap. I've given myself a chance to still stay in the fight. He jumps back up. I get on top of him. I start panning the hell out of him. We're still in a fight. You understand? If he is still shooting at us and I'm empty, what do I do? As I reload, what do I have to do? You're 50% right. It's not find cover. Because do I know if I got cover anywhere? No, but you move. I don't care where you move. Move laterally, move wherever it is that you have to move, but you move. You don't stay still, but you're still working 100% fast and effective at remedying the reload. Okay? We're going to talk about cover shortly. My next favorite myth in this line of work. Any questions so far? Okay, weapons out. Now, here's what we're going to do from here on in. We are going to start to okay, no, actually pause for a second. Weapons out. No, weapons out. Weapons out. Rack the slide back. I want to go through just one quick cycle of okay. Slide along to the rear. Neutral ready. Neutral ready. Weapons up. Neutral ready. Oh! Engage. Okay. You got a jam. What do you do? Check. All right. First we check. Next what? Okay. Still stop. Our slides are where? It means that we have a what?
Jam. Or it's empty.
It's an empty. No, it's empty. I'm telling you it's empty. Slides walk back, it's empty. All right? Good. So, next, what do we do? Strip. As you produce your next mag, quick. Your eyes are where? Eyes are on the threat. They're on your weapon. Okay? Do it right. Support hand, drop the slide. Now's the time to practice new things, guys. And in this case, the effective things. Yeah. All right. That's okay. It's not hard. You just have to want to do it. All right. Good. Slides off to the rear. Weapons up. Okay. On the command of up. Or sorry. Go neutral ready. Go neutral ready. We'll start from the beginning. Command of up. You're engaging. When I yell jam, you as fast as you can go through the remedy. Okay. So you guys obviously will have an empty. All right. So ready. Up. Engage. Jam. Check. Make sure that you check. No, what do you have? Why are you tapping around? What do you have? That's right. What's the remedy for an empty?
Reload.
Very good. Okay. All right. Good. Pick up your mags. Your lights on.
Your lights.
Okay. In from here. There's no tricks, and we're not gonna think. We're only gonna react to what we have. Okay. We're going to work with the actions of the weapon, and the way the weapon appears to us, that's what it is. So the slide is locked to the rear, it's an empty. Okay? That's what we're going to go with. If the slide is forward and I yell jam, if we're here and I yell jam, what do we have? Okay? We're going to call this a jam 1. Failure to feed, failure to fire. What's the remedy? Tap rack. A double feed, I'm going to identify by double feed. So if I say double feed, it means you got a double feed. Okay? So, empty, jam 1, and double feed will slide lock, but I'm going to double feed, double feed. Let's talk about jam 1. Failure to feed, failure to fire. Okay, so what's the remedy? Tap and rack. So why do we tap? So it could be failure to feed again, could be a problem with it's not working all the way. So we tap to make sure that's seated all the way. All right, why do we rack?
To get fresh round.
Okay, so if the magazine was not seated properly, it didn't chamber at all. So we have to now chamber around, or we could have a problem with a bad round, all right, in the chamber now, so we have to get it out of there and cycle the round. If I tap and rack once, and I go to re-engage, and the weapon still doesn't fire, what do I do? Yeah, reload a brand new mag, okay? If at that point the weapon doesn't fire again, now what do I do? This becomes a hammer, and I run into threat. Because chances are your weapon has got a problem that needs an armor to fix it now, okay? So, we tap, we rack. Let's now talk about racking. So you guys all rack like this, right? Correct? Put your hands up if yes. Don't be afraid to answer, guys. I won't pick on you. How do you rack? Slingshot. The Israeli method. The correct method. I'm impressed. It is the correct method. I'm sorry. Let me prove it to you. In the context of what we're talking about, in the middle of a gunfight. Why is it that in North America, this is the advocated method? More what?
Contact to the slide.
So more mass on the slide.
From what
Okay.
the range guys say, it's fine motor skills. Yeah.
Right. I'll bring you 18-year-old Israelis who will take this
Hey, I'm
range
not-
master. See what he says then. Okay. So the number one argument is, again, this argument of fine versus gross motor skill. Again, there's no such thing as gross and fine motor skills with a gun. Everything is a fine motor skill. There is zero difference between this and between this. Zero. We're using finger dexterity here. It is all the same. Now, you get half your hand blown off in the middle of a gunfight, and you can't do this, you have to do this. That is a whole different story. If you have somebody who is just too small and small hands, and they can't let them do this, that's a different story. Then you teach them how to do this, and you let them do this. That's an anomaly. Let's talk about reality. I don't know how many of you here have experienced or seen this, but I think that enough of you probably have, because it happens enough. How many of you here have experienced or seen where an individual went to rack the slide like this, and they were holding on to too much frame instead of slide? It wouldn't rack because they were preventing themselves from racking. Put your hands up. Okay? 3. All right? See, I'm even good at calling about how many. I said probably not everybody here, but because again, it's just enough years in, and I've seen it all. And I've been with everybody. I've seen everything. And I look for the screw ups. I've screwed up myself more than enough times. And I sit there on the range and I look for the things that shouldn't be. Never mind what everybody is doing. And so yeah, so this here under stress. Now when we talk about grabbing the slide, where do I need to grab? Where do I need to grab? Firearms instructors, where do I need to grab to rack properly this way? Explain to me.
Back of the slide.
Don't show me, explain to me.
The back of the slide, right here.
Okay, let me also ask this. What should I not grab?
Needs to be a chamber though.
Okay,
Port,
fine.
sorry,
Sure, I
port.
shouldn't cover the ejection port. And what else should I not grab?
Sights.
No, okay. See how I'm holding my weapon? My fingertips are Is that good or bad? Problematic, right? Problematic? If I'm grabbing the frame? Yes. Because watch this. I'm strong. I'm trying to rack right now, but I'm grabbing frame. Guess what I'm doing? I'm only grabbing with the pads of my finger and my palm. I'm not grabbing with full hand. Look. You see that space between my hand and the sights? You see that? You guys see that space there, the light right here? Look at that. I can't rack the gun. Talk about fine motor skill. A fine motor skill is preventing a gross motor skill here. Under stress, how hard are you going to hold on? You're going to hold on. Life and death, you're going to hold on. And this is why I see people having problems with the gun, because they're grabbing a little bit of frame. A little bit of frame. I'm grabbing mostly slide, but I'm touching a hair of the frame, and I'm preventing myself from racking. Under stress, do you really believe, I'm asking you as professionals, do you honestly, wholeheartedly believe that under stress when the rounds are flying, you, me, anybody else will be able to properly map the palm and the fingertips end up to make sure that they have this much space and they're not touching the frame? Who believes that? Who believes that? Who thinks it's bullshit? I do. Rounds are flying. The argument, you see, The funny thing is, the comedic thing and the sad thing at the same time is how our profession contradicts itself. We don't do this because it's gross motor skill. Yet, you expect me to map out fine points under stress that are far more fine motor skilled than this. Everybody understand the negation here? It's really awkward. People don't attack what they teach and believe in to make sure that it's sound and realistic. So that's number one. You're not going to grab just the slide. See the difference of grabbing slide versus frame? Rounds are flying, I tap, I rack, this is how I'm going to grab. This is how people grab. Do you know what happens? And I asked you guys to try, I want you guys to test this yourself and with your students. Have them on the range and have them as fast as they can rack over as fast as they can. Because in a gunfight, are we going to do things fast? Faster than we ever thought we could be. I promise you that. Do you know where you actually, and everybody actually ends up grabbing when they go to rack this way quickly? They don't grab here with all 4 fingers on the slide palm. Do you know what actually ends up happening in over 9% of the cases? It's only the pinky and this finger that end up actually contacting and grabbing. Now let me ask you this. Let me ask you, what is stronger? What is finer? Utilizing the pinky and this little useless finger and the palm to grab and rack, or these two to grab and rack? These two we have more control over and they're a lot stronger. Next. Enough of you, we'll say, I'm gonna take a little bit of a gamble on, but I'm gonna say the majority of you have either experienced or have observed this, where the person either after a reload or tap and rack, they go to rack and they miss the slide. You have to come back and do it again. They either completely miss or they make contact but not enough time to actually close. Put your hands up if you have experienced or seen this. Everybody, look at that. Under stress, this gun is going where? As fast as possible, it's going to the threat. Your right hand will not wait for your left hand. Your mind will not sit there and check to make sure this has happened at this time. Now you see this motion? I have a tunnel. I've created a tunnel. I am expecting for this gun to travel at one speed without stopping through the tunnel, and at some point in time, in space, I have to latch on. Nothing here to slow the weapon down, except my mind. But is my mind thinking about where that weapon is in that moment in time, that fine moment in time? No, it's thinking about, holy fuck, I don't want to die. And so, the gun passes through the tunnel and my hand is too slow. Let's go to this now. Why do we use this in Israel? Why have we always used it? Again, 18-year-old kids, we have no issues. We do this beautifully, quickly, 0 issues. Because this, see where my tunnel is now? It's perpendicular to the weapon. When my gun drives in, the inertia is taking it into my hand. It buys me a little bit more time to actually latch on before the gun transitions to punching out. So as opposed to this, that allows the gun 100% to continue in motion, this actually gives me a fraction of a second of the weapon now bouncing off my hand, which means that's stopping and I know to latch on, and the ability to latch on. Next, what is the most important attribute in combat? Again, what is it? We have to do things how? Speed. Speed. Because bullets are flying at us. What is quicker? Is it for my hand to travel all the way up to come back down, or for my weapon in hand to meet halfway? To meet halfway. It's much quicker. We tap, we rack. Even if I happen to grab frame this way here, I have more hand, so I will muscle through. Tap, rack, and out. This way here as well, I'm guaranteeing that I'm not grabbing the ejection port. I have more than enough real estate of the weapon to plant anywhere that I need to. I don't have to sit here and map minuscule points. Ironically, The bigger the hand, the more minuscule my trajectory becomes. It actually is a much more finer motor skill because I have to be more micro-precise with where my hand actually grabs and connects. Any questions on that? Comments? Make sense? Anything to add, Jimmy?
Who's on a 9? Who's on a 40? Open the act while you have the barrel. Okay, but open the action. If you look at the ejection port, you'll notice that here's the vent, here's the screw, the ejector.
That's a 40 though, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
On the 9, when you cover that up, it's possible that that round that you thought you want to get rid of still has a good primer, right? And then you slam it back in. Exactly. And that's another thing. And again, look at the design of the gun. It's not designed with things for your fingers to go in, right? Look, it's designed to grip it at the back side of it, right? So again, if you look at the design of the weapon, you think about it. If it was designed for your fingers to go on this way, it would be tailored such on the upper, right? It's not. So again, I've been instructing firearms for a long time, and you see a lot of times when people do this, like you say, the one they're trying to expel goes back in, and then it becomes a secondary, or it gets even more problematic for them. So open it up and again get that round out.
Also, there's something that I learned from Jimmy that I've never was in tune to, but when you got students that working on the overhand and you're on the range and they start having problems with walking this way, naturally, this is not a natural formation here. Hands are not comfortable this way. And when we start to push and to pull this way, what ends up happening with the weapon? This way here, a hell of a lot more comfortable.
It's not possible to turn it.
It's not possible for the weapon to go anywhere else than downrange. So that's just incidental. It's a lot safer as well.
And then you talk about gross motor skill, fine motor skill. I find, again, this is an interesting discussion. So go to your M4. How do you load it? So, right. So again, these things cancel each other out. So an instructor says one thing, and then you'll pick up a different weapon system. He shows you this, and he picks up an AK actually underneath it this way, right? So it's common sense. You got to think about it. People, when you teach, and if you teach, somebody will say, "I'm afraid to ask a stupid question." It's the unquestioned answer. That's the problem, right? But if somebody gives you an answer, don't be afraid to ask about where did that come from? What's the genesis of that? How did we get to this point? Right? That's the important thing to ask.
So when they're teaching this, is it just so everybody, like, almost idiot-proof type deal? At our range, it's...
I would say that it's because it's easiest for the instructor. The instructors have a job to do as well. And if you deal with, as I did, like 90 people a day on a firing line, day after day after day, the instructors have to find ways to shortcut everything to expedite that process. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. It's not the right thing to do. But that's generally why those things start to happen. And so it's a quick way to get everybody through, like a conveyor belt type of thing. But unfortunately, it instills a lot of bad habits and just ignorance about their firearms. That's the reality of what happens as an instructor trying to expedite. If you have a problem student, you should probably take time with that individual, not push them through. Right? You can get them to here, you can get them to there, but you got to take time to do it. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time.
That and birth of this concept has to do with, again, that very flawed notion that this is a gross motor skill and will be more effective in real life under stress, which is 100% false. Okay, so we have our reload, we have our tap and rack. Let's now look at our double feed. So a double feed is what? What do we get when we have a double feed?
Fail to eject.
Okay, so what does it look like? Visually, do we have an indicator visually? Absolutely. The longest and most complicated of all the issues that we have to remedy. All right, and what does it look like?
One in the chain, one right behind it.
Okay, so we've got a slide that is half locked open or half closed. Right, what happens again is that the slide blows back, either not fully, or it comes out, the empty casing didn't have a chance to fully eject, and we generally have either 2 live rounds in there, or we have a live round and an empty casing all stuck in here. The slide is not locked back. The slide is sitting on that obstruction. So that spring is driving the slide forward, but the slide is stuck on that obstruction. So we have this resistance here. So we check and we see that whole half of the ejection port, but everything that we see, it's all occupied in there with that debris. So what is the remedy? What do we have to do?
Strip slide ready. Lock the slide ready.
Okay, so I just want to go right now. So some answers here were strip the magazine right away, and then I know Andy said, I don't know if anyone else did, but lock the magazine to the rear. I'll tell you right now that that is something that whether you concept of locking the slide to the rear is because in some instances the slide again is sitting against all that debris with that spring trying to drive it forward. And so what that does is it puts pressure on the magazine, and it may make it more difficult to actually pull the magazine out. And what I will tell you is that you have to know your weapon and yourself with whether or not you need to lock the slide back. I have never locked the slide back, ever. For me, I've never had to. I know that there will be people that will require to. I've seen it. Officers that have smaller hands, weaker physically, they cannot muscle the slide out, the magazine out against the pressure that the slide is putting on it. So then, for example, they will have to lock the slide back. So locking the slide back is a step that you should know yourself with your weapon, whether you need to do that or not, okay? That said, whether we lock the slide back or we don't, what is next? What do we have to do then?
We're taught to do it. Tap rack ready and then.
No, what do I have to do next?
Take the magazine.
I have to take the magazine out. You will not get rid of that obstruction if you don't take the magazine out. Generally, we take the magazine out. What happens if the weapon is held up this way?
Right at the bottom.
The empty casing and or the live round will fall out. Okay. We don't know yet whether the obstruction is cleared though. So what do we have to do next?
Rack the slide.
We have to rack the slide. Okay. So how do you do that? Everybody, take your weapon out for a second. Take the magazine out like you just stripped it to clear a double feed, and just hold the magazine in your hand the way that you would, and just put your hand on the slide the way that you would if you were about to rack it, and just hold it there. I just want to see how everybody does it. Using thumb and this way. Interesting, okay?
Your way here. The way we normally do it.
No, I want you to do it the way that you do it. I will correct you in a minute.
All right.
Okay, so you've racked the slide, and now you don't worry about actually doing it. You've racked the slide. Now you have to reinsert. Just stay where you are for a second. I just want to go ahead and rack the slide and reinsert. Why did you lock the slide back?
Let's see, lock.
No, you don't lock it back. Double feed, right? So after you rack the slide, now you've got to reinsert the magazine, right? Yeah. So you just boom. Good. All right. Go. Reinsert. Reinsert. We have already inherently the longest and most complicated clearing process here. The last thing that we want to do is add time and complexity to it. All right, we're in the middle of a gunfight. So I got my double feed, identify it, the magazine comes out. See the way that I grab, whenever I grab the magazine, I grab it the way that it went in. Lip of the magazine into the bottom of my palm. Okay? Now, what I do is I just transfer in between my index and middle finger. Okay, just like this. How long does that take? It takes nothing. Okay? Super quick. Remember the proper way to rack a weapon, a handgun? This way. Notice the cant that I have on the gun. We want to use two things to help clear the obstruction. Gravity, and that will require an opening, and then the racking motion itself. So when I release the magazine, gravity will hopefully help in from here because the mag well is open towards the bottom, so everything will fall out. When I go to rack, I can do it this way, still using gravity from the bottom, or I turn the weapon upside down using now the ejection port and gravity from over top. Now, I rack 2 or 3 times. See this? All I do now is index finger transfers up to here. That's it. That's all that happens. Now gets reinserted and we re-rack the proper way. Okay? So, again, I'm engaging, don't get a reaction. I check, I have a double feed. Immediately in from here, release, catch, rack, insert, rack. I'll show you guys another method. It is one that we kind of use. It's really specific. You have to practice it. It eliminates the most complicated part of fixing a double feed, okay? And if you like it, then you work on it and you'll perfect it and you'll be fine with it. Which point of the whole remedy of the double feed is the most problematic? Not getting the mag out. It's getting it back in the middle of the gunfight. This now, taking 2 separate elements and trying to connect them in a fine point in the middle of a gunfight under stress. This is where a lot of people, especially if you're not grabbing on properly, this is where you see this happen. Okay? So one of the things that we have come up with in Israel to eliminate that, I take the magazine out, but I stop halfway, or a portion of the way. See the pinky of my grip? It slides down and grabs hold. Okay, got a nice strong lock on it here. My hand obviously has dropped, so you guys see the gap now between my hand and the tang of the weapon. I hold the weapon upside down. It has to be upside down now because I need gravity to have an opening to get rid of the obstruction. So the weapon gets held upside down. I rack, and now all I do is tap and rack. But pause for a second before I go to the rack. I have to adjust my grip. So what happens here is I tap. When I get my hand in position to rack, I take this moment now, as my support hand is clamped on, to quickly slide my hand back up, and now I rack. So the magazine never actually leaves the mag well, and that drastically saves time. Okay, so that's the second method. I'll demo it again. So in from here, engage, I don't get a reaction, I check, I have a double feed. Mag comes out halfway, just a portion of the way. Locks in with my pinky, weapon turns upside down, I rack, re-invert, tap, adjust, rack. Okay? Weapons out. So let's try the first way, the way we're taking the magazine right out. All right? We'll do it step by step. So weapons are up, we're engaging. We get a jam. What do? We check. Okay, so step by step, we check. It's a double feed. Mag comes out in between index finger and middle finger. My round is pointing straight. Like this becomes my F-off finger right here. All right? Invert the weapon between thumb and index finger. Back. Index finger just pops back up. Insert. Rack. See this? Remember I talked about this operational zone with the weapon? When our hands connect, from here the weapon punches out. When the weapon retracts, it comes back into here. We have this bend in the elbow. This is important. This distance and this distance is important. I can't rack the weapon from here. Okay? From here, it doesn't work. All right? I have to pull this all the way back. I don't have room here. This is what this zone is for. From here is where I grab on. This hand retracts as this hand takes off. And I have all this extra buffer zone to be able to enact all of that action. Okay? So we don't operate from here, we don't operate out here. We operate in this zone here, halfway through. All right? Okay, weapons up. You're engaging. Now we're gonna do the same thing, nice and fast. Okay, so it's gonna be a double feed. Jam! Double feed. Quick, quick, quick. Mag out. Rack, rack, rack. Beautiful. Mag back in. Rack, good. Okay. You guys want to try the second way? We try it. All right, so again, we'll walk through it. So weapon is up, we're engaging. So we don't get a reaction, we check, we have a double feed. Palm comes underneath the mag to make sure it doesn't fall. I grab hold as I slightly drop it, and I use my shooting hand pinky to lock it in place, okay? Make sure it's locked nice and tight. All right, very good. Invert the weapon, ejection port to the ground, Rack 3 times. Weapon reverts back up. Tap. Now, get the hand position for rack, but pause. Adjust the grip. Rack. Let's try that again, nice and fast. Weapon up. We're engaging. Jam. Double feed. The rack on the double feed, you want at least twice, if not 3 times. Okay, we want to make sure that we are clearing that obstruction out of there with no chances. All right, any questions on that? Okay. Any thoughts, comments on everything that we're doing so far? No thoughts, no comments. Fine. All right. Weapons up. Magazine out. We have a little competition here. That's good enough. Okay. Weapon position like it's about to be reinserted. Touch your back with the mag. Insert your magazine. Insert. Extract. Touch your back. Insert. Extract. Touch your back. Insert. Okay. Now, eyes stay on me. They don't go to your weapon at any point in time. We are in the process of fixing our weapon. We're in the middle of a gunfight. Our eyes are where? They're on the threat. You have to see and know what he's doing and where he's moving to. You shoot your eyes down at the weapon for a second or two. You come back up and he's suddenly gone. You haven't seen it. He's gone behind a couple of cars. He's coming up behind you. Eyes stay on the threat. Okay? So from here, take your magazine out behind your back. When I say go, you are going to insert, extract, touch. Insert, extract, touch. As many times as you possibly can, as fast as you can. Your eyes stay on me. And we're going for 20 seconds. Within 20 seconds, I will time it. You count how many times you have inserted the magazine, okay? You keep counting. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Eyes on me. Eyes on me, eyes on me, eyes on me. Quick, 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 quick. Make sure you keep count. Keep count. Eyes stay on me. Eyes stay on me. Quick, 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 quick. Let's go, let's go, let's go. 5, 4. Quick, 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 quick. Stop. How many?
8.
9? 8? Okay. Weapon up. One more time. You have to beat your record now. Okay? You have to beat your record. You got no choice. Magazine in your hand, behind your back. Eyes on me, against your back, against your back. Go! Let's go, let's go, let's go. Eyes on me, eyes on me, eyes on me, eyes on me. Quick, 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 quick. The way you grab your magazine will dictate how many extra reps you get in there. Make sure your index finger is up, high. Eyes on me. Eyes on me. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Stop.
8.5.
So you beat yourself by half. All right. Good?
11.
11, 9, 11.
10.
Very good. All of these micro tasks that we have will make a difference between life and death in a gunfight. Okay? And tiny little things such as how we grab our magazine make all the difference between a nice, quick, trouble-free insertion or now spending extra seconds trying to make it happen. All right. Weapons up. Actually, we'll do it this way. We have everybody back here. Everybody here in line with me. One line. One line facing a target. Left. Right. Rear. Jam. Down. All right. What happened? happened?
Something new.
No, nothing new.
No, what I did was
The same thing.
Right.
You went to rack the slide, didn't work for you.
Exactly.
What happened here?
I just out of habit, I racked it, so it just locked itself back.
I understand. What do you mean?
So I put it in,
So you got a new mag in.
out of habit, instead of hitting this like I should have, I just did this and locked itself back. I would have had it.
It didn't lock itself back. It didn't release.
Right,
It stayed locked back.
right.
Right? Success? What happened?
used to it.
Yeah, look at that. So you tried also to rack the slide.
Not this time.
What'd you do?
Tried to get the button to release the slide. By the time he got there.
So you got a mag in. You tried to use the slide release. And what happened?
Just couldn't get it to go.
Okay, so just need to practice. Yep. Okay, fine. Good. Here?
Same thing he did.
What was that?
I tried racking something.
So when you guys operate carbines, right? Right, so on an emergency reload, you rack the action again, or do you hit the full? Really? Full release. Right, so what I'm saying is, it should be consistent through all your weapon systems, right? So if I'm doing that on my carbine, why wouldn't I do the same on my pistol? It's about speed. Right? And again, you have the incongruence of an instructor going from one weapon system to another and teaching you two different things. That eventually, in reality, it's going to be very costly for you. So it should be the same through your weapon systems as much as possible.
So we had, again, a repetition 3 out of 4 times here, a failure of getting the weapon in the battery because racking the slide failed. Let me ask you guys a question. So before, I mean, I don't know, who here has changed their mind completely on the effective method of getting a weapon back in a battery off of reload, meaning slide release versus racking the slide? Who here has changed their mind now?
Trying to.
No.
That's just it. Yeah.
Hold on. Let me reword that. We say you're trying to accept it mentally.
Trying to change.
No.
but
Okay, I'm not talking about trying to change.
Okay.
I'm not trying to change. I'm talking about before you came into this course, you had a belief. You guys had beliefs, right? You had your methods and your tactics, and you, I hope, had a belief system to go with them. Because the one thing we can't be doing in this line of work is do something without believing in it. Could you imagine again a surgeon going into the operating room using operating methods and not believing in them, not having any type of belief system? It's pretty backwards, isn't it? Okay, so who came in before you came into this course, or who walked into this course believing that the effective way to get a weapon back in a battery off a reload was to rack the slide? Who believed that that was the effective way? Okay, who has changed their mind on now that not being effective anymore? Everybody. Okay, so I'm happy to hear that, only because the way that we are working on here with using the slide release in real life especially, this is not real life, and we're failing the majority of the times, but in real life, the effective way, 100% the effective way of getting the weapon back in the battery is using the slide release. So I'm glad that at least that now you walk away with that, because it's going to make you better. It's going to keep you alive if that is what you rely on to stay alive. And God forbid you encounter a moment where you are in a gunfight and you now have to reload in the middle of that gunfight. And if you're instructing, you have now a much more realistic way of keeping your recruits safe. So I'm happy for that. My question though is, why is it, because you guys have all been in this line of work for several years, yes? You guys have worked on reloading a lot over those years, yes? My question is, why only now? Why only now are we at the point that you have changed your belief because what you believed in was challenged, or you tested it, it's been tested? Why only now? Think about all the times you may have come close to being in a gunfight. Think about all the people you have trained that have walked away now with this as the method on a reload? Why only now?
Because it's drilled in your head for the past 12 years, going down to the range.
I mean, and if you do it wrong,
yeah,
you're wrong.
I guarantee you, I
Even if you're
use
right,
the slide
you're wrong.
release.
Those
I'll,
are
I'll
not-
catch words.
Those are
at the
not
range.
the correct answers.
Right. Never been an option.
It's never been challenged. Never been challenged, never been tested. That is the flaw with our profession. Do you know what, guys? We are law enforcement officers, soldiers, law enforcement officers especially, because we're here, hometown, home turf. We are the only professionals in a profession that is not a profession. Grab a surgeon anywhere you want. That person will know their trade inside and out. They are on top of what's effective and what works. The second that there's a change to be made or a new education that hits their industry. Same thing with lawyers and with judges and accountants and everybody else. We, however, are in the only profession that is life and death. Choices are life or death. We are the only ones that have to make life and death decisions in the smallest period of time under the worst stress. Can a surgeon be on an operating table and be under stress because what they're doing is not working? I'm sure it happens. I'm sure it does. Is that surgeon under stress of dying in that moment? Never, ever, ever. Are we? Yes. We're not in a profession that is governed by professionals because people are more concerned with their ego. People in this industry are more concerned with being right over doing the right thing. Nobody out there takes what they have learned or what they've been tasked to teach and says, hold on, hold on. What is the science behind this? What are the facts behind this? Who has tested this properly? Let's not test this thing by virtue of making it so it reinforces what we believe in. Let's try to make this thought, this opinion, this theory, this tactic fail and see if we can make it fail. Nobody does that. That's a shame. It's an absolute shame. Because we want to go home to our families at the end of the day. And you know what? There's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of families out there that depend on us being professional and doing the right thing, not being right. So it's a shame that it takes for some Israeli to come out of the desert all the way here to Michigan to suddenly test some theories out against a backdrop. Again, is this realistic? It's not realistic. It's not realistic. But we are putting it to test under some attributes here, such as speed. And you are nervous. We're all nervous when we do this. I would be as well, because it's a competitive thing. And we can't mess up now, because we have to succeed at the task. So there's a level of stress, but it's not even life or death. And look at the failure rate. If it's failing here under these circumstances, what is it going to do under real life when bullets are flying? It's going to fail even quicker and even worse. We all have a responsibility to be professionals. Our industry becomes an actual profession. And we have a responsibility to do the right thing instead of being right. All right. Questions so far? Okay.